Hello boys and girls. This is our second lesson on the in operator. In the previous video, we have completed one example showing how we use the in operator. Now we've got two more examples to discuss. Just to revise, the in operator is in place of using an or statement. For example, if you input a month and you want to check if the month is 1, equal to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, we simply say if month in, and we list one of these numbers. If the month is one of these numbers, then we can do more in terms of coding. We can also use it in terms of for a letter, and we can have an interval like from A to Z, it means all the letters in the alphabet, comma, and then we've got small letters, lowercase letters of the alphabet. We can also list letters of the alphabet. We can also list other characters, and this is a sentence, a string. And if you want to check if each position of the string, we'll need to check if it's a vowel. We'll use something like this. And if in each cell number, if we need to check, we say number. Note the quotes are because it's a number that's of type string, because it's a string comparison. If cell number is an integer, we can convert each character in the string to an integer and then check it's from 0 to 9. Now looking at our example 2 for today, it says input a sentence. So our first thing we need to do is to enter a sentence. There's a code here. Question here, input a sentence. So we enter a sentence. The next part of the question was count the number of words in a sentence. Generally, before going forward, how do we know how many words are in a sentence? Here's your sample program or samples input. It said it was a very hot and very windy day. So how do we know how many words are in the sentence? A word ends with a space. Then your next word ends with a space. Only at the end of a sentence, a word may end with a full stop or a question mark or exclamation mark. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words we said. There's your answer. But the spaces are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces. So firstly, we need to count the words. We need to count the spaces. So we have a for loop here running from 1 to length of sentence. And if the sentence, each position of the sentence, now I see, so 1 to length will run from 1 till the end of the sentence. In each position, IC will be 1, IC is 2. When IC is 3, we're checking each position. When IC is 3, we're going to see that there's a space here. So if IC is equal to a space, then we're going to count. All your counters as well as your sum generally need to be initialized to 0. So we can now increase your counter by 1. So 0 plus 1 is 1. That's your first space. Then your sentence will continue running. Right? You continue running. You find your next space here. When it has a space, we count it. So that's your second word. And that will continue till we reach the end. Now when we come to today, if there's no space there, the sentence does not have a space at the end, then we need to have one more value, one more 1 added to count the last word. This will count 7 spaces plus 1 to give you 8 words. So your spaces are your number of words plus the last word which is added here. Now if you have more than one sentence, so if you want to cater for the last word, instead of increasing your count by 1, we can simply say if since in, instead of using the equal to sign, we can say if it's in a space or a full stop or a question mark and other punctuation marks like exclamation mark that ends a word or a colon. So this is what you can use to find a word in the sentence. The in statement can replace the equal to sign just to see for one space or for checking the others. Now let's look at example 3. It says input a word and a sentence. So we have two inputs, word and a sentence. So there's just word, there's your sentence, and they have type string. So that's a word and a sentence. Now it says delete all occurrence of the word from the sentence. And the sample input, the word is very. So we need to find very in the sentence. We need to count it. Sorry, we need to delete it. So we need to find very, we need to delete it. We need to find the next very, we need to delete it from the sentence. So that will give you, it was a hot and windy day. So to find a word in a sentence, we use your pause statement. These are the important statements here. Position of the word in the sentence. Right, so we're looking at position of the word in the sentence. So if we know the position of very in the sentence, we can now delete. So next important string function, or this is a procedure actually, let's say string methods. One is to find the position of word in a sentence. Remember, a string method, both of these are string methods. But this is a function because it's going to return an answer and store it into something. This is a procedure because it does not return to store in, it returns it in here. Because if you delete the word from the sentence will change. Right, so the sentence changes here. This is a function because the change happens and stores into a variable. So we find the position of the word the, and then we need to delete it. So we're going to run from 1 to the length of the sentence, and we're going to look for the position of the word. So the position of the word very, we're looking for very, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, is position 8. So we find the position of word in sentence, so IP is 8. Then we go to sentence, we go to position 8, and we delete the length of the word, to delete the 4 characters, which means we come to position 8 and we delete the 4. Then we go up. This is deleted, so it doesn't exist. So now we have to look through a sentence for the next very. So find the position of this very, find it, and you delete it from the sentence. Now what happens is, if we delete both the varies, your sentence will look like this. It was hot and windy today. Now if we haven't reached the end of the sentence, we're going to look for the word again. And there's no very here. So your position of the word in the sentence, as you're running, after the second time, you deleted 2. So when 2 words. So when you look for it the third time, the position value will be 0. So you cannot delete from sentence from position 0 because the position starts at 1 and there's no value yet, 0. There's no word. So it's going to give you an error. So we need this if statement. This if statement is only if the position exists. That means that there is a position, there is a p value, there is a position of the word. That means the word is in the sentence. So if the IP value is greater than 0, the position of the word in the sentence is there, it's at a certain place, then we can delete it. So the deletion only occurs if we can find the position. We have an answer for the position of the word in the sentence. So that is the reason for the if statement. And then we simply display the sentence because the change in sentence will happen here. You're deleting from the sentence itself. So that will give you your answer. Now looking at the application, clearing all our drawings, right. Your string application, your sentence, first one, you input a sentence and count and display the number of A's, lowercase. So we're counting the number of A's. If you look at the sentence, 1, 2, 3, number of A's should give you 3. And it tells you your hint, use a for loop and use send IC. It means you're going to read in your sentence and store it in a variable send. Next one, they want you to count and display the number of vowels and the number of digits. So we're looking at the sentence here. There are 8 vowels and there are 4 digits. There's 1 digit here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here 2. you'll be using, you can use send for your sentence. You need your for loop. Just remember with these application, you can refer to the examples I've given you earlier on the sheet. These examples here. These statements here should help you in working these answers out to these questions. You'll answer question 3 as well. Yes is counting, input a sentence and a word, and you're looking for words here. We've done something similar. Just remember, when you count and display the number of times a word appears, and if you're looking for green, if you find a position of green, it's 1, but you cannot find the position of the second green, because whenever you find the position of a word, you'll always find the first word. So the best way to find the second green is actually to find the position of this green, delete it, then you'll be able to find the position of the next one. In this example, you're forced to delete each word that you found so you can find the next occurrence of the word. Question 4, to create a new word in reverse of the original, you actually need to start an empty string and you need a down to loop. You got for IC is equal to 1 to length. Now you can have a loop. For this example, you can have for IC is assigned equal to length of a word, if you're using a word, and there's a down to 1. So we start, if you want, you can start from you got book, you start from the back. Down to 1. In one line, you start from the back. And you need to start on an empty string and take each letter and join. There are other ways of doing it where you have a normal forward for loop and you can have a counter to count from backwards and take each one and join to form a string. Now, these questions are not straightforward. It requires you to think about your answer. Never give up. You try. Once I've marked these 4, then you can complete numbers 5 to 8. Although some of you can try if you're well ahead. But if you have made mistakes, when these 4 have been marked, you learn from mistakes from here. So you can apply yourself and correct your answers for 5 to 8. So we'll leave you to work with these 4 examples.